guys, I've made a presentation about antitrust laws, their history, why they're important, why we have them, how they might apply today. But it's all for Zoomer content. The history of antitrust laws for Zoomers. First, what are antitrust laws? Antitrust laws, which started in America and were later adopted in worldwide in some other forms, are laws created to help promote more fair competition between all companies in a given space and to help all consumers have a better experience and not be exploited by large companies. This were created to prevent the formation of a monopoly. The intention is to prevent the ops from dissing our HUDs. We don't like those big companies, those Jeff Bezos. They get so rich, they prevent us from having our lunchlies. They prevent us from having the things we want. So where did it come from though? How did this happen? So originally, kind of the big thing that led into it, this is John D. Rockefeller, the first billionaire of all time. Wow, kind of rich dude. And these laws came in 1890, a little bit before John D. Rockefeller kind of enters the picture here, known as the Sherman Antitrust Act. So what was going on is he owned 90% of all oil companies in America, bro. That's a lot. So this guy had a monopoly. He's truly in the thick of it, guys. So just to kind of put that into perspective, the amount of money he had at this time was more than every single H&M together by another 3 billion. Figured I kind of juxtapose the vibe a little bit here. It's kind of a lot. But what is a monopoly? I asked ChatGPT to put what a monopoly is in a Zoomer way for you guys to understand. And it says, a monopoly is when one GigaChad company gatekeeps the whole market. Like if Amazon bought your life and said L plus no competition plus play 20 shipping plus ratio, no competition, no drip, just vibes of oppression. I thought that was pretty accurate, honestly. And like an actual definition is like a monopoly happens when one company dominates an entire market, leaving no room for competition. This often leads to higher prices, fewer choices for consumers, and less innovation. All right, so here's what was going on sometimes. So John D. Rockefeller, he's up here and he's got all these barrels of oil he wants to ship, right? And then there's this other guy, Joe Schmo. We got Mr. Joe Schmo up here. Your average oil company owner that's not John D. Rockefeller. And this guy only has one barrel of oil to ship. And he's only in Ohio, right? And this guy's over the entire, like general US. What this guy would do, he had all this oil. He had all this oil. And he had just like way more fat stacks of money. Okay, this dude had like tons more money. This guy only had a few dollars, right? But he's had some money. But this guy had like way more money. So every single oil company, right? They need to ship their oil. And at the time, there were a lot of these going on. Choo-choo! Anyone a choo-choo fan? I'm a choo-choo fan. Thomas. We'll name him Thomas. What a great name. So Tom has an owner. And this owner guy, he's sitting on his train. He rides it. He's wearing one of those hats that's like a train conductor hat. And he has these really cool things called cargo cars that can hold a lot of fucking oil on them. And so this guy, John D. Rockefeller, he walks up one day. He's like, hey, Mr. Train Conductor, you got a cool train there. I'd like to use it for shipping oil and I'm gonna pay you. And then the train conductor guy's like, that's cool, but like I can just charge normal prices and everyone can ship their oil. And then it gets fucking dicey. Johnny boy comes back. He comes back over and he's like, let me whisper in your ear something crazy. I'm gonna pay you extra money. Then you're gonna charge more money to everyone else that is shipping so that nobody can get as cheap oil prices as me. And then he goes back and all is fine. They do a little secret under the deal kind of table. And so now this guy, John D. Rockefeller, our boy here, our boy paid him off. So he's got a little green in the pocket right now. He's got a little money in the bank. And so here's what starts happening. This guy's like, hey, I want to ship some oil. And then this guy's like, well, shoot, man, it's going to be $5 a barrel. But then John D. Rockefeller's like, guys, I want to ship oil. And this guy's like, oh, that's sick. It's $1 a barrel to ship oil for you, my guy. And now we have a trust. This is what we call a trust. So basically what has happened now is John D. Rockefeller and this train guy, they're dogs. And now their line goes over the entire country. They can go anywhere. And so this guy who's fricked, he lives in Ohio. He gets actually over. He gets wrecked. He gets fricked because this guy, John D. Rockefeller, has control over all these lines. with this really cool thing called money. And so this guy makes a lot of money, this guy makes a lot of money, and this guy, who's not either of them, gets freaking destroyed. And so when it goes to the supermarket, right? You go to your oil supermarket. So what it should look like, right? You know, you've got can of oil A, you know, maybe you got company B over here, and you've got company C over here, C, and they're all like, they're kind of similar. You get to this position, and this one's gonna be like $6, right? This one's gonna be like $7.50, but it's like, it's a little bit better. It's like B plus. And you get the C version. This is like the budget friendly one. You got the $5.50, right? But because what's happening with all that shipping, and no one else can ship anything anywhere, you end up in this situation. They all just say $8 on them now, as opposed to $6, right? And they're all the same oil container. They're all the same. There's just no choice. To go back to our example here, what is the monopoly? The monopoly is when one company dominates an entire market. That's what was going on back at the time with John D. Rockefeller. So what happened on the block? By 1880, Standard Oil owned 90% of the oil in America and all the shipping for it too. This means the gang had to deal with predatory pricing, undercut competitors until they went bankrupt, making it impossible to have healthy competition. Exclusive deals, partnered with railroads to charge rivals higher shipping rates, and buyouts. They purchased many small competitors to consolidate power. So going back to even our example with Joe Schmo, Standard Oil would just buy him at the end of the day, and then now it's all over. It's done. So this is all cringe, all because the ops hate competition. Competition is really good for the market because it helps everyone have a better share. Like, you having a choice between Apple and Android is awesome. And so it got a little bit rough. What does it mean, bro? What does it mean? The problems with trust meant monopolies and higher prices for consumers, worse quality goods, and little incentive for innovation. So if you own all of the oil and everyone has to buy from you, you're never going to improve it. But in the sense of having competition, it's really good for innovation because Apple is releasing new phones and getting better and better and better phones. So is Android. And they will continue to do this and probably until the end of time because we're gonna have the best phone ever. But if it was only Apple and the only place to ever buy a phone was just Apple, we would probably still be happy with the iPhone 5. We would still be running the iPhone 5 because there's just no other choices, right? And that would suck. I figured we would want to listen to the a little rundown of the case here.
In 1906, the U.S. government sued Standard Oil under the Sherman Antitrust Act for being an illegal monopoly.
They sued. The government sued this company for being a monopoly. So what happened? Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil was a legal monopoly. The company was ordered to split into 34 smaller companies. Some of these baby Standard Oils also became powerhouses in and of themselves. Maybe you're familiar with ExxonMobil. Maybe you've heard of them. Maybe Chevron. Rockefeller might have lost control of his empires, but he was still dominated the oil game for decades. Fun fact, when his companies split in everything, he had stock in all of them. And when they all started growing, he made a ton more money anyways. It didn't even matter. And for the future, this eventually led to much power moving to the government for the sake of helping the American people. But the company got split into 34 people. Rockefeller got even richer because of capitalism, The government got a big antitrust W. That's how the US showed the world they could chop down some giants, kinda. So now what? The same kind of stuff went down with AT&T in 1982 and Microsoft in 1998. Just figured I'd put this here, let you guys think about it. In quarter 3 of 2024, which was just recently, NVIDIA secured 90% of the global GPU market share, underscoring its industry dominance. So just looking at this, is that a line? Don't get scared, guys. It's just a graph. You can do it. Not only are they doing similar things to Standard Oil, these are all of the recent acquisitions that NVIDIA made. So meaning these are companies that they have bought. Run AI in December 2024, NVIDIA completed its $700 million acquisition of the Israeli AI firm Run AI, following regulatory scrutiny from both the European Commission and U.S. Department of Justice. Run AI specializes in AI workload management and orchestration, enhancing NVIDIA's capability for optimizing AI infrastructure. In October 2024, NVIDIA acquired the Seattle-based startup Octo AI, which focuses on helping companies run AI models more efficiently. In 2023, NVIDIA acquired an AI startup, OmniML, to that miniaturizes machine learning applications. They're acquiring a lot of things, like a lot of things. Here's their price chart on their products for those GPUs that we were talking about, those things that go in computers that make your games run. In the year 2020, the average price $450. The high-end model price, like the best one you could buy, $1,200. 2021 went up 150, went up 200. 2022 went up 150, went up 200. 2023 went up $130, went up 200. 2024 went down 50, but this one still went up 200. So it went about 80% in the end. It's kind of a lot. And they're also like the only thing you can like really buy on the market. They own 90% of it. They're acquiring a lot of other companies. Just thoughts. I make no sort of, firm statement, but I think this is a little crazy. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few years we do see sort of a, like a couple calls for this sort of thing. AMD is still a decent competitor. AMD is still a decent competitor. I'm not saying they aren't, but the way NVIDIA is currently tracking and with the AI stuff, I think they're going to get too big. Between NVIDIA and Tesla, it's going to be like a pretty big rat race for who makes the best AI stuff with their GPUs. And I think because NVIDIA owns 90% of the GPU market, they're going to win the race. It's going to be a lot of things because at some point, right, AI is going to be one of the most important things for all of us to like have and have access to. And the ability to have computers is going to be such an important thing. And so I think that this is going to be a big thing. What's the possible consequences of this? What do you guys think it is? Before I say anything, what do you guys think the possible consequences are? NVIDIA is going to have the best AI? I think so. They probably will. Big data plus AI wins. Yup. Honestly, for me, it's a little bit more scary than the big oil thing we were just talking about. Because this is so much data on people too and things that are happening. It kind of reminded me of this. This one kind of scared me, dude. Blackstone agrees to buy Ancestry, $4.7 billion deal. This is the company that keeps track of everyone's fucking genetic material and tells them who's related to who. What? This scares me. This is like a scary kind of deal. It's kind of a crazy idea to think that there's a company out there that just owns billions of dollars of like human DNA genomes that have been sent for the intent and purposes of finding lost ancestors, now owned by a giant corporation that is just for money. It just kind of is in the same things.